they didn't have the Crown of Providence in their list anymore, which I think is insane, because that card single-handedly saved me in this matchup. You can win on the spot by playing one of these. A very weird relationship between Iyslander and Dromai is, in this matchup, you need to be the aggressive deck, because I've noticed all these tricks you can do with an Illuvian Constellus, turn 0.
Welcome back to Draw 4, your best Flesh and Blood resource. Today we are welcoming Joakim Gustafsson, who won Swedish Nationals 2023 on his Iyslander Stormbind deck. Congratulations, Joakim, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't really... It hasn't hit in yet that I actually won the whole thing. I wake up every morning and I see the trophy and I'm like, oh, yeah, that happened.
Would you say that winning the national championship is one of your goals that you had in Flesh and Blood, or was it like a surprising one?
Oh, it was a surprising one. When I started playing Flesh and Blood, my my one goal, because I played Magic before and I played it for fun, but I had this thought that it would be nice to get to a Pro Tour. And when I picked up Flesh and Blood, it became okay. Now we're gonna give this a real go, and we're gonna try to qualify for a Pro Tour. And that's it. And yeah, so when and then I did qualify 2 times on XP, because I was a real grinder of online armories. And when I got to PT Lil, I was like, okay, so this is the furthest I'm gonna go. This is insane. I'm here. Nan. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play for fun now. And then this happens. And I'm like, okay. So now I think I have to find another goal. I don't know. World's top 8 seems fun. That might be the next goal.
Yeah, let's go for it. When coming to the tournament, did you expect that you would face against the meta that you were running up to, or were there some surprises?
Oh, the fun part about Sweden is that everyone has... There are a lot of players that have pet decks and pet classes, so you can never really prepare for what you're gonna face, because 90% of the field will just play whatever they find fun, and then you have 10% that are gonna try to find the best deck. So yeah, I think I faced... I don't know, there were a couple of classes that I didn't face, and I only faced one Lexi, which was like fun for me, great for me, because that's one of my worst matchups. But other than that, the field was as random as I expected it to be.
So how many players did attend the Swedish Nationals in the end?
I actually don't remember or know. I think we had a 60-player cap or something, I think, and I think we had 45 or 50-ish at the end, I suspect.
So you just mentioned Lexi as one of your more scary matchups, and I talked to Toff Hansen, the Norwegian national champion, who faced a lot of Icelanders with his Lexi deck in the Norwegian national championship. And tell us a little bit more about your matchups, because I think that's really one of the most interesting parts about going over the nationals.
Yes, sure. I think I sent this. Okay. Yeah, so the players I faced... the first round. In any tournament, you want to play against the easy opponents first, get a couple of warm-up rounds in, and prep. But for some reason, so when I lose to a player in an armory, and I have a tendency to go on tilt, and then I call them jokingly my nemesis, and I think in the first 2 rounds I played against 2 nemesises. And the first one was Stefan on Lexi, which is... So I was expecting like, okay, this is not gonna go well. I'm gonna lose round 1, then tournament's basically over because I'm gonna be on tilt and I won't play well. And then the fun part happened where everything just aligned. So I have 2 Fate Foreseens in, a tech I stole from Mayan Bay, and they just make it so that the Lexi matchup slows down to the point where I feel like you can actually make more rewarding decisions. And that's exactly what happened. And then I successfully kept the channel out long enough for him to, I don't know, lose confidence and then just win. The second match was against Niklas Asner that I later faced in the top 8 as well. And he's on Big Dragon Dromai. And that's where I go, okay. The fab gods are telling me to just stop trying. And then his deck just completely concedes against me. He doesn't get a single 8 rashing out for the first 20 minutes of the game. He can't block any arcane. And he puts a big dragon in Arsenal that he can't ever get out either because I keep disrupting his turns. So he has no Arsenal and no 8 Rash Wings, and yeah.
Damn.
So that happened. And at that point, I just feel like, okay, maybe the warm-up rounds were warm-up rounds, and I'm in this, and I have a real shot. So for the rest of those were the 2 standout rounds for me, and then I faced 2 Surreys in a row, and that deck doesn't really have a chance against Iyslander unless they play some really weird versions that won't have a chance against aggressive decks. Just take it cool, play it tight, and then you win. Then I had in the CC rounds, I also had a feature match against a Katsu player, and I didn't see Marcus, I think his name was, and he wasn't very well versed in how to play against Iyslander, so he just kept falling for these traps where you, like, I don't know, you let the Katsu player resolve his Katsu triggers, he discards a card, and then you blizzard them, and they just sit there, oh, okay, I can't do the rest of my turn. So I fell for those kind of tricks. So it turned out to be quite easy as well. And that's when I realized that another fun part about playing feature tables. You can make these facial expressions towards the camera. So if you watch the coverage of Swedish Nationals, you're gonna see where my headspace is at, because I can look into the camera and just stare blankly with an expression that explains everything. Something I did unconsciously, and then I got a lot of screenshots sent to me after the game. And then the last CC round of the day was against Jacob. That was also the finals who I played against there. And I think he's bar none the best player in Sweden. Like when I play against him, it's insane because he's one of the few players here that think through what you're gonna do and how he should respond, and then if he can bluff you out in some way, or if he can make you think that he has a play that he doesn't have just to make you block wrong. And at this point, at the first day, I was locked for top 8. I didn't really, and I was really tired, brain was mush, and I didn't really play that well. And he, as good as he is, he just saw every mistake, pounced on them, and that was the first loss in CC I had on that day. And he was on Bravo then.
Yeah. So the link.
Do you want me to go through the?
Sorry. What do you want to say?
No, I was thinking you want me to go through the CC top 8 as well, or should we wait up?
Sure, let's do that for sure. but I just wanted for the viewers to let them know that we will have the link down in the description to your feature match, so they can watch the Swedish stream from Nationals and follow along that way too. But yeah, now you had a really good start in the tournament. Like you said, you even bet those decks that you didn't really expect to beat in the first place. But then going into the top 8, how confident were you about Iyslander and playing up until the finals?
That was... I can say that at the start of Nationals, I wasn't that confident. The games before the tournament, in Armories and practice, I had a 7-game losing streak. So I was like, okay, I played the game for fun. And I had that same mentality going to top 8. I was like, when I woke up, because this was day 2, when I woke up, I just felt, okay, yeah, sure. I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna play one game, and then I'm gonna go and see everyone play the PTI side event. Sure, that can be an okay day. And then when I walked to the venue, I start up my playlist of 1,000 random songs I've listened to throughout my life, and Die Another Day by Madonna showed up as the first thing. And I took that as, okay, maybe we should actually try to have some confidence here. So, the first game in the top 8 is against the winner of the Nationals last year, Niklas Bengtsson, on the Briar, which is... It's a good matchup. Their new AB2 chess piece makes it a bit more interesting, because they can slow down the game and they can think through their arcane blocks and everything. And in some cases they can even wait out until you no longer have any channels left in the matchup, and then they'll just run you straight over. But in this case, I just had some insane destruction rounds, I think, at the start. And one of the things he did was he had to discard one of the mountains. And after that, he never really got any tempo back in the game. And yeah, then it went as it's supposed to go. And when that game was over, I stepped out. So in the venue, we had set up a big screen TV where we could see the feature matches during the PTI event that the other players had. So I go out there and I watch the other games. I'm trying to remember what it was now. It was Niklas on Dromai playing against another matchup. I don't remember, but I was thinking about it and thinking, yeah, okay. So if Niklas wins this, then I'm probably out of the tournament. But if the other guy takes it, then yeah, then the Fab Gods are on my side, and this is gonna go well. And then Niklas wins, and I'm like, oh, so this is where I lose. Cool. Got it. So I sit down, we start up, and I'm thinking, okay, let's listen to that Die Another Day song again, just to get into the mood of things. And I think it really worked, because suddenly I felt like, okay, I'm supposed to lose this matchup, right? But the first time his deck just gave up, and this time my deck just said, okay, sure, you're gonna draw the perfect hands for 13 turns in a row, and you're not gonna relent. A key thing that I discussed with other Iyslander players at the event were that they didn't have the Crown of Providence in their lists anymore, which I think is insane, because that card single-handedly saved me in this matchup. Because if you... The very weird relationship between Iyslander and Dromai is, in this matchup, you need to be the aggressive deck. Whereas in everything else, you're like trying to control the situations. But here, you're the guy that punches and never stops. And in the match here, I just drew the perfect hands with Scar into a Wounded Bull or Wendell's Fighting Spirit every turn. It's never stopped. And then one turn I draw a 4-blue hand that does nothing. And he has already gotten enough dragons out that I can't really... I can't try to slow this down or control the situation, because if I don't force him to block, his turn is going to be big enough to basically put me at 1 or 0 if I'm unlucky. I just say, okay, Crown, please do your thing. Put in front of the first dragon, and I draw a Wounded Bull, and I go, okay, we're gonna keep doing this, right? That's basically how it went. The last turn of the game was fun as well, because there was a situation where I had to let Kylewaria, I think is the name, draw a card and hope that he doesn't draw a blue. I had a channel lake out. If he draws a blue, he's gonna be able to attack with more than one dragon after the Kylora, which means I'm gonna have to start blocking, and I won't be able to send Scar into Wounded Bull into his face and rip his entire hand and then kill him next turn. But if he draws a red, he's only gonna be able to attack one more time, and I can block that with equipment and then send my whole hand. That was a kind of calculated YOLO situation. But at that point I felt like I'm already all the luck seems to be on my side, so let's just do it, and it worked out. Yeah. And then we have the last match, which was against Jacob again on Bravo, and here's where I think that losing against him day one was very good for me.
Yeah.
Because I think he had a lot of confidence walking into the game. And I've lost to him in an arm race as well. So he thinks this is gonna be easy. While I know in my practice that Bravo is gonna be an easy matchup as long as my deck actually agrees with me. And the Crown is once again super important because it fixes everything. So that happened. And then there is, if you watch the Nationals coverage in that game, there is a moment where everything seems to be going super well for me, and then I draw a 4 blue hand, and I've already used my Crown to fix things earlier, and I'm just staring at this going, okay. So I'm gonna have to supersede the tempo here and let him do his thing, which means I'm gonna give him a 5-card hand, which means he's gonna be able to dominate something, and I'm at a low enough life that I'm probably dead if that happens. So I stare at his hand for ages. It was an Insidious Shield, an Ice Eternal, and then 2 blue cards that do nothing. And then I realized that he had created a seismic token because he had that Fable in the list that creates one of those.
Yeah.
And that would give me priority to play an Ice Eternal before his turn really starts. And that would also trigger the Insidious Shield I have in hand. Okay, there is a very weird way we win this. Yeah. So I had to, I went down to 1 to play out an Insidious Shield, put a card in Arsenal and pass. It's like the worst play you can make when you need to do something and prevent cards from being thrown in your face. But that worked out.
Going into the deck list, what would you say are the key cards that you can't really miss when start playing Iyslander and going to nationals with her?
The Bullander list is pretty much set in stone. It's the key cards are basically just big red attacks and then disruption cards. It's very hard to specify any specific card that's super important, but we could go, the Wounded Bull, of course, and then Scar for a Scar is really good, because in situations where you just need to block out, you can still send a 4 for nothing, keep a card for arsenal, and in situations where you get ahead, you can send a Scar into a Wounded Bull. Those turrets are just insane. The Aether Ice Wings and Insidious Chill are also super important, because those are the cards that really stop your opponent from ever being able to set up a big turn. This always demands a card or two, no matter what you do. Whereas an attack is just, okay, they're gonna trade damage for tempo, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many did actually Insidious Chill win you the game in the tournament?
Oh. I think at least 4 games were thanks to Insidious Chill triggers. The funny part about this card is that you need to think about where you are in the game. Like, because you either need to have a really good turn into putting this in arsenal, so that your opponent doesn't have cards to punish you with when you play this out, or you need to accept the fact that you're gonna take 6-7 damage to play this out, and you need to have time in the game to make it worth it. Yeah, so I always prioritize getting these out as soon as I see them, unless I'm on like sub 20 life. Yeah.
So I think one interesting card that a lot of people are talking about and are worried about playing against is Warmonger's Diplomacy. What is your opinion after playing it at Nationals on this card? How did it come up, and would you play it again? You are only running 2 in your main deck.
Yeah, so that was the fun part. I think my list is pretty much like any other Iyslander list at this point, except for the thing that I run 2 Aether Ice Wings, 2 Brain Freeze, and 2 of those. And it's because I wanted to have a toolbox approach ready for playing a wide field where there are a lot of different heroes. And this card, against heroes like Azalea, you can win on the spot by playing one of these. And they're also good against the Rune Blades, which I know that there are a lot of in Sweden. So I felt like, yeah, but in the matchups where it does nothing, it literally does nothing. For instance, like you play this against a ninja, they're only gonna laugh at you and then Kodachi you to death. I don't know. If we're gonna have a game balance discussion, I would say that the card is way too good in certain situations, and then in other situations it just does nothing. And it is this kind of silver bullet design that I dislike in card games, and I'm kind of terrified that this is a card they've printed. But I trust them to maybe think things through. Yeah. But it's... if you know the meta you're going into, and it's a good card, you should play 3 of them. If you know the meta you're going into, and it won't do much, then you shouldn't play them. It's as easy as that.
Alright. When we look at your deck list, like you said it already, there are some cards that are differentiating your deck from other Iyslander lists, but besides that, is like kind of staple now, the Bowlander list that Michael Hamilton invented. Why did you choose in the first place to come with this deck and run Iyslander at Nationals and not one of the other top contending heroes?
I just really love playing wizard decks, and last year I didn't really feel like I was gonna compete at all, so I played Kano for fun to see how it could go. It didn't go well because I had this... that year it felt the opposite of this year. Like that year I just drew incredibly badly and ended up with the eye on top of my deck during the combo
Oh.
during 2 games. So I was like, okay. And until a week before Nationals, I was pretty set on playing Kano actually. And then I just had a couple of really bad games into Dromai where I felt like I am not doing anything. I know I'm gonna face Dromais because there is 2 good Dromai players in Sweden. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to play into that without tilting my brains out. So I'm just gonna play Iyslander, and as a side consequence, that week before the event when I really had decided, I just realized how fun it is to be able to think through your turns and not rely on the hidden information on the top of your deck. But it was also like, I was always gonna play a wizard, and Iyslander was just the best thing at the moment. Yeah.
All right. I think on your equipment lineup, there is also one part that new wizard players would be interested in hearing about, and that is Alluvion Constellas, because yesterday I was talking to the Polish national champion, Pavel, and he actually won on Kano, and we talked a little bit about the Wizard Mirror, and how would you say cards like Alluvion Constellas come in the Wizard Mirror, and what really makes the Wizard Mirror so interesting for you?
Oh, the Wizard Mirror is the best part of this game. And when neither player really knows whose turn it is, and everything is just weird. The thing there is, Alluvion Constellas is a must-have, because the ability to store up free swings with the Waning Moon and find moments when your opponent don't have the resources to pay, or if you want to force. In the Iyslander Mirror, it's really important to try to force your opponent off the arsenal, because that means that you're gonna be able to do things on your turn without ever having to worry about pitching extra or any disruption. And that's usually how you really take a lead in the match. And Alluvion it's just, on some turns, you just go, okay, I'm gonna pay this extra 1 just so that I can get the counter. Because paying, so you prevent 2 damage, you deal 3 thanks to this. It's like the math it's insane. There are some neat tricks as well. The unfortunate part for me is that I didn't get to play a single Iyslander Mirror in this tournament, because those are like most fun matches for me. Because I've noticed all these tricks you can do within Alluvion Constellas, turn 0. You can shoot yourself with an arcane spell and pitch and store up a free resource on that. Going first in a Wizard Mirror is such an advantage. And another thing that I think is quite fun with the card is that if your opponent tries to Ice Eternal combo you and give you a bunch of frostbites, you can, in response, activate this twice, and then your weapon will cost 6 less. And then you can probably pitch your way out of the frostbite combo.
Yeah.
So this is one of those cards that people don't it isn't so apparent when you first see it, but this is the reason you win games.
All right.
And then I also run like another detail about the Wizard Mirror, like I have 3 E-pots specifically because storing energy in these matchups are very important. Yeah.
Let's come to another matchup that you already talked about, and that was bringing in Crown of Providence. So you already said that some other Iyslander players are on the go now to exclude Crown of Providence from their list. You have it in the sideboard here. How many times did you actually side it in to bring it up against your opponent in the tournament?
4 times. It's great against Bravo, because when I tested an all arcane list, and I realized that if you don't have enough power to punch the Bravo back, they're not gonna block, and then they can, as insane as it sounds, they kinda outvalue you when you're on the arcane build. And I took that into account when switching back to Iyslander, and thought that isn't it just better to guarantee yourself an out when you draw a hand that does nothing, if this is gonna be a tempo matchup. And then against Dromai, you need to have the aggressive hands. If you don't, you're dead, so always in against those. I have been toying about playing it into Reinar as well. I didn't get to play in Reinars here, and the thing there is it's a great way to survive a big turn, because you can block with this, gain a card off the top that you then can block the next attack with if they don't intimidate that. So you can just get your way out of a all intimidated hand situation. But there I also think that the Coronet Peak is pretty good at keeping them off the 5-card Blood Rush hands anyway. So it's a bit up to the playstyle you choose.
Okay. You said that already. You wanted to have a toolbox approach in the tournament. Can you go over the rest of the cards in your sideboard and tell the viewers, like, how did these cards come up, and would you change anything about the sideboard in the future?
Yeah. I actually think that this is... If I'm going into an open meta, I think this is the list I would play. 110%. Just feels perfect for me and the way I play right now. If Lexi would disappear, I would love to get rid of the Fate Foreseens in the sideboard and find something better against the tricky matchups. Reinar is a constant problem that I haven't solved yet. But I think, I think 2 Oasises would be fun to play instead of Fate Foreseens against those a bit slower but still punchier matchups. Yeah, let's see. So the Command and Conquers, they are only for the Rangers. And against Assassin, that's actually a great point. The Fate Foreseens, I switched out the Brothers in Arms for Fate Foreseens in the Assassin matchups because the codexes just prevent you from doing things. And if the only card I have in my graveyard is a Brothers in Arms, I'm pretty toast. Yeah, and as for the rest of the sideboard, most matches just come down to... So I have 57 cards in my main board. So it means I always take in at least 3 cards here, and those are either the sink belows, if I face something that's more centric against about going like straight to face 1 or 2 big attacks. Whereas I side in the Blizzards against anything that goes wide, like Ninjas or Briars. And then, yeah. But yeah, otherwise I just run the 57 cards plus 3 from here plan, basically.
So, going forward in Flesh and Blood, we will see an all Mechanologist set. We don't really know yet how the meta will shift after the set, but is there anything about the Mechanologist matchup that you want to bring in here when looking at your deck list?
I would say that I'm terrified about the new set, and I never want to face a dash ever with this list. Yeah. The Mechanologist matchup is horrible, because they're gonna punch you hard and fast at the start, and when you finally get a grip and get them down, the only thing they have left in their deck is a lot of blues, and they're able to block any arcane because of their natural AB, and they also have a pistol setup that just keeps swinging at you. So it's gonna end up with you being fatigued. It's quite annoying, actually. So if they print a bunch of new Mechanologist cards, please make them bad for Dash and give us a hero that's beatable. Yeah. There's also a funny story that one of Sweden's best players, Tobias, famous for playing Oldhim, back when you could do that, and Starvo, he had a great run in CC, and then he lost one game against Dash, and then he played the draft format and just was wiped out. So he kind of lost the tournament because Dash existed. That's what I'm gonna say.
If any of the viewers have further questions regarding your strategy here or in-depth questions about any of the cards, comment down below. So after Nationals, you already said that the World Championship will be the next goal for you. How will you approach going forward, and how's your testing strategy? Who are you testing with?
Oh, that is kind of fun. So going into Nationals, I actually had a testing team that was only me and one other person, because Sweden is so small that everyone's gonna figure out what you're doing if you don't keep it contained. And I won the Nationals, and he won the PTI event. I kind of feel like the testing team is a pretty good start. Probably gonna invite the other top players from Nationals, and we're gonna try to figure something out there. As for my personal plan, I think I'm gonna back off from Flesh and Blood for at least a month or two, and just let it sink in once again that this happened. And try to avoid being burnt out on the game. And then when there is a little less than a month left till Nationals, I plan to just go 110% and play as much as possible. I also know that we in the Nordics, we have our own little competitive server on Discord where we talk and discuss strategy and try to team up. And we're gonna have like a practice house before the National, before Worlds down in Barcelona. So we're gonna have a week of just playing Flesh and Blood there in a big little castle thing. So that's also part of the plan.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Worlds and also the other Nordic community members. For the end, I really want to thank you for taking the time here to come on the show, bringing us the details from your Nationals, and also for the insights on the deck list. For all the viewers who are still on, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Like it if you found it helpful, subscribe to the channel, and watch one of the other national champions bringing his view on Flesh and Blood here.